Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Settle for More podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Wright, and I have designed this space for you. Yeah, you, the woman who is ready to walk out on her fears, step into her dreams, and shift her mindset from feeling not enough to taking action and becoming more than enough while settling for more, allowing her the opportunity to have more influence and more impact, both personally and professionally. And when that is done, she becomes the CEO of her life and demonstrate nothing but self leadership skills. So, welcome, 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 you CEO. It's been a while, I know, since I've connected with you. And I know some of you must be wondering, oh, what happened to Nicole? Where did she go? I've been here, I've been busy uh, on Instagram mainly, doing my little morning programs. I have my academy running, as you may or may not know. So I'm still serving in community, just serving in a different way. It is my hope to restart these podcasts because I recognize that I have so much to say. And I think with technology these days, there's so many ways to get that information out there, and this is one of them. So why not utilize it? I know with COVID happening now, we're in the midst of a pandemic wave two. And I know that some of us probably are feeling discouraged. Some of us are not moving as we should in terms of taking action on our goals or dreams and the desires that we have. And I do believe that if you absolutely desire it, then you truly deserve it. And so I'm stopping by today to just give you some tips as to ways to motivate yourself to take action. We're going to be talking about 6 specific steps that you can take immediately to start taking the required and inspired action to propel you into the future that you definitely can see or glimpse or feel for yourself. So, what I do know is that taking action towards your dreams and goals is really one of the vital things that you need to do. So, it's great to have the mindset, it's great to have the vision, but you must be willing to take action. And unfortunately, it's not always the case. And what I do know is that it's not always easy to stay consistent and to build momentum. However, taking action is one of those important pieces of the puzzle, along with proper planning and the drive to succeed. Those that take actions are actually the ones that see results. So, how do you motivate yourself to continue towards working towards your goal, especially when we're facing challenges or there may be things that we wanted to achieve and there are setbacks? And although some strategies will motivate you a little bit more than others, it is really good, self leaders, to experiment with several different ways of finding your motivation. So, what feels good to you? And then when the chips are down, you can deepen, right, the action that you take. And you can always depend on one of those strategies to get you back on track because it felt so good to you and there was resonance. So I'm going to be sharing with you 6 techniques. Some may be, applicable and really speaking to your soul. Some may not. But guess what? One of the things is that when you are a self leader, then you feel so empowered to make your own choices. And so I'm going to leave that up to you. So let's talk about the 6 things that you can do. And the very first thing I'd like to suggest for you to do is to break your goals into smaller, attainable steps. And this is especially if you're working towards a bigger goal. Break it up into a series of small steps that you know you can achieve. And after you've achieved each step, then celebrate and reward yourself for a job well done. So don't just be hopping from different task to task, or you're taking one step and then another. Make sure that you're pausing to celebrate, you're pausing to reflect. Sometimes you may need to reevaluate, but most importantly as well is that you are rewarding yourself for a job well done. With small steps, you'll be more likely to stay on task because your rewards will come often, right? And who doesn't like a reward? The second thing that I'd like to encourage you to do is to know your limits. No one knows you but you, and you know yourself best, and only you can identify your personal limits. If you move too slowly, you will know deep down that you could be taking just a little bit more action. However, when you try to do too much, what you risk is being burnt out, and we don't want that either. So it is your job to really sit and to do an assessment and figure out what I want to call the magic point where you can achieve success without a lot of stress. And I want to look at that as being balanced, right? And when you're able to do that, you will remain motivated to taking the required action steps that's necessary. The third thing I want to suggest to you is to remove your distractions. And there are some things that might be likely to distract you more than others. And remove yourself from these situations when you know that you need to take action. So if you find that you're engaged or involved in a particular action and you know deep down that this is really not contributing to the bigger goal, this is a distraction. Be committed to removing yourself from situation when you know that you should be taking action. So for example, if you happen to be a social person, perhaps you need to block time away from your friends and family during the time that you know that you have allotted to taking action, right? So you want to also look at, if you're surfing the internet a lot, if you're into video games a lot, if you're into television or a lot when it's time to work, maybe you need to physically remove yourself from that space that has any distraction. The fourth tip is to ask for help when you need it. A lot of us are so afraid to ask for help. But what I want to encourage you to do is don't be afraid to get help from others. There is only so much, self leaders, that you can accomplish day by day, all by yourself. Now, whilst I do believe that some things will require you to do it solo, not everything requires that. And so I want you to get into the habit of being open enough, being vulnerable enough to ask for help when you need it. And whilst it's true that there are some times when you're going to have to accomplish certain things on your own, but if there's any way at all that you recognize there's an opportunity that someone else can help or that you can probably delegate, don't be afraid to do that. Consider that possibility and be brave enough to ask them. And tip number 5, find an activity that energizes you. Sometimes you'll find that there's a period in the day when you go into a slump. Maybe you have trouble starting your engine in the morning, or perhaps the afternoon causes you to feel just a little bit sluggish. In these times, it is important, number 1, to be able to acknowledge what's happening. Number 2, to be able to identify when does it truly happen. And in these times, find activity to re-motivate and to energize you. One thing that can energize you is moving your body, right? So whether it be you have your own private dance party, you put your playlist on, you get up, you move, or you walk, move your body, or find something that energizes you. Because when you're moving your body, you really get your heart rate up and you're sending fresh oxygen to your brain, which will start to get the engines turning again, right? If there's something inspirational that you want to pause and read, if you want to pause for a couple of minutes, maybe to watch a comedy, if cooking is your thing and you may want to break your day up to be cooking and then going back to what you need to do, you know that thing that energizes you, right? So in these times, find an activity that will really motivate you and keep you energized. The sixth thing that I wanted to share with you is to keep a tight schedule. We don't want to leave our success up to chance or hope that it will happen. We want to make sure that we have scheduled in the things that are required for us to do in order to be successful. So, a good schedule and organization plan will keep you motivated and on track. In the beginning phases of planning your goals, be very specific when deciding what you need to do and when you need to do them. This way, when you complete a step, you won't have to spend time figuring out what you're supposed to do next because you have a plan that is clear and that it's easy for you to follow and to execute on your dream. So, self leaders, if you want to succeed, you can do it through purposeful action. Just think about what you've done to accomplish goals in the past, right? Sometimes it's always good to try and remember, what did I do when I achieved that? How focused was I? What time of day did I recognize that I was more productive? What were some of the things I had to remove from my life? Who did I ask for help? Did I participate in any activity that energized me? Right? So look at what you've done in the past, right? Chances are you had a plan and you followed through on that plan. Now, it may not always be easier, but it's doable. And when you remain motivated, you'll reach whatever goal you set out to accomplish. So I hope that my 6 tips are going to be helping you to really start taking action if you recognize that, oh, I've hit a slump. And I'm just going to run through them quickly because I am a facilitator and I want to make sure that if you missed anything, you can catch it now. Number 1, break your goals into small steps. Number 2, know your limits. Number 3, remove away any distractions. Number 4, ask for the help that you need. Number 5, find an activity that energizes you. And number 6, keep a schedule. Alrighty. So thank you so much for joining me on this podcast. She is back, y'all. Alrighty. And remember, as you move out into the world this week, don't forget that you don't need validation. You don't need confirmation. You don't need permission or definition. Because in this moment, self-leaders, just as you are, you alone, you simply are just more than enough. In all you do, please settle for more. We'll talk soon, everyone.